So COT, which is chain of thought, is also a prompt engineering technique. So we are going to learn that particular engineering technique in this video. So let's imagine this scene. Okay, a teacher asks student, what is 17 minus 9? The student doesn't just say the answer, they think aloud, like, okay, 17 minus 10 is 7. But teacher asked 17 minus 9, but we done 17 minus 10 and we got 7. Hence, I removed 1 too much. So the answer is 8. So actually, this step by step thinking is what we call a chain of thought. So now imagine using the same thinking process in AI prompts. So that exactly what chain of thought prompting does. Instead of just asking the model to answer, we we tell it to show its steps. Okay. So now what is chain of thought prompting? So chain of thought prompting is a prompt engineering technique where we guide a language model to break down a task into smaller steps before giving the final answer. So now could we define COT? So, chain of thought prompting is a prompting method where intermediate reasoning steps are included in the prompt to help the model to arrive at the correct final answer. In simple words, we train the model to think out loud, like we train the model to think out loud like a human before reaching a conclusion. So, when and where do we use chain of thought prompting? So, chain of thought prompting is most useful when the task involves math, logic, multi step thinking, or reasoning based problems. So, and also, chain of thought is used when the question is not direct or needs working out to solve. And also, when you want most explainable answers, you can use chain of thought prompting. And also, when you want the model to reduce silly mistakes by thinking carefully, you can use chain of thought prompting. So now let's see how chain of thought prompting overcome the limitations of other techniques. So first one is it solve complex problems better than zero shot prompting, one shot prompting, or few shot prompting. So in zero shot or one shot, models may give an answer too quickly without understanding the logic. But chain of thought forces the model to break down the problem, making answers more accurate. So the second one is it improves explainability. So with zero shot or few shot, the answer is just a single line. But chain of thoughts tell how the model reached the answer. So which builds trust and clarity. So the third one is it reduces errors in multi-step tasks. So sometimes model skips part of a task. So by writing each step clearly, chain of thought prompting prevents skipping important details. And fourth one is it teaches better decision making. So instead of just acting, the model reflects on the situation. This is especially useful for real world reasoning, ethical choices, or planning. Now, let's see some of the advantages of chain of thought prompting. So, the first one is it improves accuracy in reasoning tasks, it breaks down difficult tasks into manageable parts, it gives explainable answers, which is very great for education, audits, logics, etc. And also, it reduces silly or fast guessing from the model, and also it encourages the model to use its knowledge in a smarter ways. Now let's see some of the limitations of chain of thought prompting. So it may give longer responses, so it may take more tokens, and also it takes more time to process and understand. It can produce overly detailed steps for simple tasks. It still depends on model quality. It may give wrong steps, it may give wrong answers, but it requires well written examples for better results. So these were some of the limitations for chain of thoughts. Now let's see when to use chain of thought versus other prompting techniques. So use zero shot prompting for very simple tasks with clear input. Okay. Use one shot prompting for slightly complex tasks which takes a sample for better understanding. Use few shot prompt engineering techniques for the task with format or style variation. So use chain of thought for the problems which includes logic, math, reasoning, and problem solving. So let's conclude this video. So chain of thought prompting teaches the AI model to slow down and think step by step, just like a good student solving a hard problem. It transforms a fast answering machine into slow thinking reasoner. So this makes it perfect for math, puzzles, logic, decision making, and complex conversations. So by showing the thought process, this method builds better understanding, fewer mistakes, and more human-like answers. In prompt engineering, chain of thought prompting is one of the most powerful tools for unlocking the deeper abilities of AI. So in the next video, we're going to see an extension for chain of thoughts, which is tree of thoughts, which is also called as TOT.